Hello everyone, welcome back to Nia Handcrafted, where we talk about mostly candle and soap making, but today we're going to be talking about making it into marketplaces or not. I have experiences in both, and I hope to share with you some successes and challenges that we've had coming up on our first year of business and having opened up in a marketplace. We have done over a dozen different marketplaces and over 20 individual markets. I am by no means an expert or master of the marketplace, and I don't think I will be ever. So this is my own personal experience, and you are welcome to share with me yours in the comments below, good or bad. I think that we can all learn from each other as a maker community. When I was first thinking about getting into markets and applying to markets, there was a lot of videos that I found in my searches on YouTube about how to set up your tent and display items, and those are really helpful. And we did a video on how we did a small indoor space, and coming up in the next couple weeks we'll be talking about setting up in a larger outdoor space in a larger market. But as those were there, I wanted to focus a little bit more on the application process and some of the barriers that I hit in doing that. And, maybe that could be a little bit helpful for you, because in my initial search, I was not very successful in finding those videos. You are looking at the biggest barrier for me in getting into marketplaces. This brain here can take me in a negative rabbit hole of just negative stuff and drama. Like, your stuff is a pile of troll boogers. Your friends really don't like your stuff. They're buying candles on the side. You can buy candles on the side. That's okay. They're just telling you that they like your product, right? Or just coming back to you because they love you and support you. You can just get in this repetitive cycle of just where you're trying to keep yourself where you are. And the only thing that worked for me was to actually sit and address my worst case scenarios in the face. And how that looked for me was sitting down and said, okay, what if nobody came to the market and bought your stuff? What if somebody bought your stuff and really hated it? How would you respond? Would it change what you're doing? And the answer was no. All of those scenarios will hurt and not feel great. But in the end, I've been through worse things in my life than somebody saying that my candle didn't perform well, right? So I was willing to give that a shot. The next thing I had was to sit down with my spouse and kids and let them know that this was something that I wanted to do, because I did kind of create also some negative talk about, oh, you have a job already. Why would you want to add this? You're not at all a business major. You don't have any experience in this. Why would you take this on? And it took me a long time to actually come out and say it to my family. And when I did, they were very supportive, as you would expect. But there was some confusion that you had to address, and that might be something that is holding you back as well. But it was something that I really pushed for and said, I just really want to try this. I just have this nagging thought that keeps coming back and won't leave me alone. And so it's worth it to give those things a little bit of attention. While I was kind of in this kind of confusion phase and holding back phase, I visited a lot of farmers market, craft marketplaces, pop-ups, little teeny tiny stores, festivals, street fairs, and kind of got an idea, like kind of either solidifying if that's what I wanted to do for myself, and kind of doing some research intentionally and consciously at the time, but also some stuff really stuck into my subconscious. I talk a lot more about this in my blog post on my website. It's www.niyyh-handcrafted.com if you prefer to read about this as well. I highly recommend, before getting into marketplaces, if this is not a place that you're accustomed to shopping at, to go into that ground research and notice things. Firstly, how did you hear about the event? Is it inside or outside? How do you feel about that? What's the vibe of the marketplace? What kind of vendors are there? And that can really help you to understand maybe what kind of marketplace would be well suited for your wares. As you're walking through the marketplace, notice what booths pull you in and what pull you away. So for example, some of the things that I can remember being really conscious of is I liked tables being outside, facing outside, that I could approach, as opposed to the ones that were set up on the interior of the booth, because I liked that separation. I don't really fully engage maybe necessarily with people unless I really want to know more about the product. And I also really like the pricing there. I remember there was a really cool item I was talking to a maker about. When I asked him the price, he said it was $75, and I was like, this was way out of my budget. I don't feel this way when when it happens to me personally, but I felt at the time like I had wasted his time. Like there was no way that I could afford that. And he just, gave me this whole spiel and demonstration. That's part of market life, and I learned that a lot more later. So I understood a lot more about my behavior here, but there's a lot of other people that shop like me. Having a vendor that was standing and not on their phone or looking down really made a difference in whether or not I engaged. And if I did engage, even if I wasn't intending to buy something, I was way more likely to buy a product, of course, because now you have a personal and magical relationship with this person who made this thing with their own two hands. That kind of puts a little bit of pressure on you to be on at markets. Sometimes I see vendors who are just down looking at their phone even as customers are approaching their table, and I watch those customers then walk away. They may have had intention to buy or it might not, but it is far more likely to buy something when you are experiencing that. And people partially are buying the product, but they're partially buying something to support you. Don't take this as saying like that you have to be, you need to be like Pollyanna at the whole market and that you have to be perfect and shiny the whole time. You're not going to, you're going to be achy. You're going to be under caffeinated. You might have to go to the bathroom, when it's really busy. A little bit of a smile does go a long way. Feeding into sometimes the rejection part of your brain is that many applications are juried. In fact, that is the majority of cases. Either your application is juried or there's a market manager or curator that is going to select the vendors that are going in. So you need to be putting your best foot forward in applications. And a lot of times the applications are pretty simple. Name, contact info, what do you sell? And so the first part is having a really good blurb prepared. Do as I say, not as I do, because I never have it written out, but I have kind of some lines that I really liked. So really driving home what makes your product unique, because I live in an area where we have lots of very talented candle and soap makers, but I don't see a lot of marbled candles or soaps with embeds in them that are completely cold process. And so I talk a little bit about that, what sets your product or process apart from others. Another part that sometimes I struggle with was product photography. I really like taking pictures of people and landscapes, but it's a whole different ball game when you're trying to photograph a candle and set a whole vibe. And I really have had a lot to learn, and it's like a steep learning curve for me. But that is a lot of times if the person doesn't know you, or especially if you're not active on social media, or that you don't have a business social media page and all you have is your website, that is how you're going to be judged. It's just like shopping online. I can show you, I made this pretty soap, look at all the swirls. But if you're not feeling the texture and smelling it and just really observing it up close, then I'm not as likely to sell it. It's the same thing when curating a market. It's helpful to spend some time researching the market that you're putting all of this attention to, especially if there's market fees. Some of your applications are going to come with fees, and so it's worth it for you to understand kind of the vibe that they want to set. If it's been a market that's running for a little bit, or if they have a social media page that you can look at the pictures of past events, vendors that they have done. You can also see if they highlighted vendors or what kind of advertising that they did for the event to get people through the doors. Because there was a larger market that I applied to not once but twice and got rejected. But when I went to that event, both times I could see that the aesthetic that they were looking for didn't match mine. And that was some of the personalized feedback that I got. It was like when I first applied, I didn't have a website, so I needed to get that going, and about product labeling, which was helpful feedback. Now I know that that is maybe not the marketplace for me, and I'm putting that $25 vendor application towards other things. While you're in the research phase, I'm hoping that you have a social media page. I will say that Instagram is the #1 place where I find market. I did set up a business Instagram page, and I slowly collected vendors that I was following. I followed their hashtags. In Portland, it's, our city hashtag often is PDX. So PDX pop-ups, PDX vendors, PDX makers. I followed those hashtags and I saw where vendors were selling, what kind of day they were having as they were out. And that was really helpful for me. And also in following those vendors, I have been fortunate to build a really nice network of vendor friends that we can bounce ideas off of. You will not only benefit, for your business, but you're also lifting up other makers when you do that. There's other social media outlets that you can use to find events. I have not really applied much through Facebook. I do see events there that I have been able to kind of research and kind of, there's a couple for next year that I really want to apply to, but I think by the time that I'm seeing the event, I've missed the application deadline. I'm not on TikTok and I don't really understand Pinterest that much, so I don't know about finding events through there. If you do have experience, then let me know. But I will say that I have had some experience in marketplaces that were catered towards certain communities. So for example, I've vended at Muslim marketplaces or women maker marketplaces. There are BIPOC marketplaces, LGBTQ marketplaces. So if you identify in a community that may have less opportunity for advancement, check those out. Your Chamber of Commerce may be helpful, or your city's website. Just kind of getting connected with your town. That has been getting connected with things that are going on in Portland are some of the best ways that I have found to get into marketplaces. Please do not let rejection or fear of rejection get in your way like I did, even though I know if it's there, it's there. Market managers, curators, and juries, especially for long-standing markets, know the type of clientele that are coming into their markets, and so they're going to curate to cater to them. So if you didn't get into a marketplace, doesn't mean you need to completely give up. It means that your product is not the best fit for this market, but that doesn't mean that there's not another one. And there are many marketplaces, even though I said many are juried. Like my very first marketplace in a neighborhood one was kind of just like, there was an application process, but you paid the fee and you were in. So that's worth looking at. There are larger curated events by event companies. I kind of shy away from those. I've had some burns, not terrible, but just because if they're not local, the communication has been off sometimes. I'll say some final thoughts here. I will not stop vending in marketplaces for any time in the near future. I really enjoy being in craft marketplaces, being right on the sidewalk or inside, big buildings is my favorite way to vend. In the last few months, I have had personalized invitations to apply, and I think that happens to a lot of makers after you've been doing this for a while and circulated and made your vend friends, as I said before. They already know and trust your product, they like your vibe, and they know that you'll be a good fit in the marketplace. And so even if I have had to apply and pay a market fee, when that has happened, I've always gotten in. So that takes a lot of pressure off, because it's not guesswork and you kind of trying to guess like, well, yeah, everybody likes candles, right? That they're gonna want me, right? Like you've already been through that sorting hat process. So that has been really nice. And some of that has not just been through that. Sometimes people see it, sometimes people see your posts. So quality reels or quality photography on my Instagram has sometimes been like, hey, I want that in my store. I want you to apply to a market. So paying a little bit of attention to your social media, if you have it, is important. For marketplaces, I think that it is worth it to say that financially they are the best way for me to make sales. The vast majority of my marketplaces, I have done way better than any single day of online sales. And it's no surprise, because you can meet the maker, I can talk about my process, I can show you the pretty soap and candles. You can smell it, you can touch it, and you can really appreciate it. And then, like when I go to these kind of marketplaces, I want to spend money, and I am aware that handmade costs a little bit more, and I'm willing to do that to support my community and to support artisans. And so I think a lot of people that are going out there, a lot of people are just going out for a walk and we happen to be there, but some people, are actively seeking out, and they tell you that they were actively seeking out this market. And it's a great feeling to know that your community still cherishes quality, handcrafted, intentionally made goods. I talk a lot about this and other things on my blog and the website that is on my profile here on YouTube. And I have a lot of maker tips and vendor displays that I've done on my Instagram that is at niyyah.handcrafted on Instagram. Please follow us over there. If you benefited from this video at all, please remember to like and subscribe. That really helps our channel to grow. If you have any questions about markets, please let them know. We're kind of focusing on that theme this month as we get deep into market season. Right now, we are waiting on some market application decisions, so we'll let you know how that goes. And we look forward to see you in the next video. One of our next upcoming videos is going to be talking about setting up for a large outdoor marketplace, and I hope to see you for that one. I think for our next one, we'll probably show you how we make our goats and roses soap, so hang tight for that. Thank you so much for your support so far on this YouTube channel. We look forward to hearing more from you as we grow. So we'll see you for the next one. Bye.